Today's video will bring you fascinating mysteries. Let's explore together. The mystery of the world's oldest mummies. Beneath the arid sands along the coastal region of Araka and Perinaco, archaeologists uncovered traces of the Chinuro culture, a community that once lived on the edge of the Pacific Ocean nearly 9,000 years ago. This area has often been described as the very edge of the world, and its harsh climate created the ideal natural conditions for preserving one of humanity's most extraordinary customs: the practice of intentional mummification, a technique that appeared at least 4,000 years before the Egyptians. Today, the Chinuro remains are recognized as the oldest mummies ever discovered, and they have revealed many surprising details about a complex prehistoric society. Since the first discovery by archaeologist Maxula back in 1917, scientists have tirelessly searched for, analyzed, and reconstructed the unique mummification methods of this ancient people. What sets the Chinuro apart isn't just natural preservation. Thanks to the dry climate, the process was deliberate and systematic. The entire set of internal organs was removed from the body, and the skin was carefully separated, cleaned, and treated much like animal hides are tanned. The empty skeleton would then be filled with organic materials such as dried grass or ash, plant fibers, or bird feathers. Finally, the skin was sewn back in place using cords made from reeds. When the process was complete, the face of each mummy was covered with a distinctive clay mask, while the entire body was often painted in striking shades of red or black. The most remarkable aspect of this technique lies in how intentional and consistent it was, a level of precision that few other cultures of the same era could hope to match. The Chinchuro mummification process demonstrates a mastery over natural materials and a profound understanding of human anatomy, far beyond the standards of prehistory as we know them. While the Chinchuro mummies have survived across millennia, thanks in part to the searing dryness of the Atacama Desert, their endurance is owed even more to the technical prowess and deep spiritual awareness of a community that held strong beliefs about death and the world beyond. Even after more than a century since the first mummy was uncovered, the greatest mystery remains unsolved. Why would a society of hunter-gatherers who left behind no great cities or written language develop such a complex and consistent method of mummification? Anthropologists have yet to fully explain the true motivation behind this practice. Was it tied to religious beliefs, ancestor worship, or perhaps an entirely unique social tradition? The Chinuro disappeared from history thousands of years ago, but the traces they left behind continue to challenge modern science, pushing the boundaries of what we know about human creativity and adaptability in prehistoric times. The truth about the lunar calendar. On the journey to decode the mysteries of time, it is impossible not to mention the crucial role played by ancient Egyptian civilization. For it was in this land that humans first laid the foundation for systems to measure time by tracking the movements of celestial bodies, especially the cycle of the moon. The Egyptian lunar calendar emerged more than 5,000 years ago, dividing the year into 12 months, each beginning with the new moon and ending just before the next new moon appeared. Because each lunar cycle lasts only about 29 to 30 days, the total number of days in a lunar year always fell short of the actual movement of the Earth around the Sun. Over time, the Egyptians were forced to add a 13th month every few years to keep agricultural activities aligned with the proper seasons. The transition from the lunar calendar to the solar calendar only took place when the Egyptians realized how essential it was to synchronize their calendar with the sun cycle in order to better manage agricultural production along Nile. Their first solar calendar divided the year into 3 main seasons, each corresponding to the flood, the planting, and the hot summer. These milestones didn't just shape the production of wheat and barley. They were key to the stability of all Egyptian society. Unlike northern civilizations, the Egyptians had no concept of winter because the ecosystem of the Nile Valley depended entirely on the rhythm of the flood and the flowing water. On the walls of temple ruins, traces of the Egyptian calendar still endure. The Egyptians carved their calendar into rectangular tables with each month and day laid out in detail, a striking contrast to the circular and complex stone discs used by the Mera on the far side of the ocean. These calendar tables guided priests in setting the dates for festivals and religious ceremonies, coordinating labor and organizing the coronations of pharaohs. Accurate timing was a matter of life and death since every major event required the consensus of the gods and the order of society. From this foundation, the Egyptian calendar spread throughout the Mediterranean world, shaping Greek and Roman civilization and ultimately laying the groundwork for the Julian calendar, and then the Gregorian calendar, the same system we still use today. The transition between calendars was not always smooth. Even in England, it wasn't until the 18th century that the country finally agreed to abandon the old calendar and join the rest of Europe, skipping 11 days in September 752. The story of the calendar is not simply the evolution of a tool for measuring time. It is a testament to humanity's effort to control nature and build a stable society, overcoming every boundary of space and time. The Lost Cloak of Alexander the Great. In the search for remnants of the ancient world, the discovery of a fragment of purple cloth in the tomb of Philip III, half-brother of Alexander the Great, sparked a wave of debate about the true origin of this artifact. Today, only brittle scraps of the cloak remain, but scientists have determined that it dates precisely to the period when Alexander ruled. What makes this piece remarkable is the chemical analysis of the dye on the fabric. The purple hue was created using a special dye reserved exclusively for royalty and the ruling class in ancient Greece. Ancient texts, including the writings of Roman historians and Greek manuscripts, all mention a purple cloak as the supreme symbol of the Macedonian kings. Old paintings even show Alexander himself wearing this very cloak during important audiences or military ceremonies. Based on scientific examination and comparison with historical descriptions, many scholars have formed a reasonable theory. After Alexander's sudden death in Babylon, the cloak was passed on to Philip III as a treasured keepsake and a symbol meant to preserve the memory of his illustrious brother. The tradition of keeping personal belongings of great historical figures not only reflected the close ties within royal families, but also embodied concepts of inherited power, tradition, and honor in ancient Greek civilization. At the same time, this discovery highlights a major gap in archaeology. The location of Alexander the Great's tomb, one of the most influential figures in world history, remains a complete mystery. We know the final resting places of his father, King Philip II, his brother Philip III, and his son Alexander IV. But the tomb of Alexander himself has never been found or conclusively identified. This purple cloak is more than a physical or historical treasure. It acts as a crucial link in the search for Alexander's final traces and helps complete the unfinished picture of the legacy and enduring mysteries of a great empire. The Ghost Tribe of Africa. In the field of anthropology, one discovery has completely changed our view of the origins of African peoples. The results of genetic analysis from 18 sets of remains unearthed in Shumlika Cave, Cameroon. Most striking of all, 4 child skeletons ranging in age from 8,000 to 3,000 000 years old revealed genetic structures completely different from the modern Bantu peoples who dominate the region today. Ancient DNA analysis showed that only a small fraction of these ancient individuals' genes matched those of modern hunter-gatherer groups in the rainforests of West Central Africa. The majority of their genetic material did not match any modern population ever recorded. Geneticists called this evidence of a ghost lineage, an ancient branch of humans that once spread widely, but left no clear descendants in today's populations. This discovery has upended long-held assumptions about the origins and migrations of the Bantu peoples, the largest language group in Africa, whose history of migration stretches over thousands of years from Central Africa to the south. Previously, researchers believed Western Cameroon was the starting point for the Bantu expansion. However, the ancient genes from Shamlaka rule out any direct genetic connection to modern peoples, revealing a much more complex prehistoric population structure than anyone had imagined. The study also revealed the coexistence and interaction of many different ancient human groups, including lineages never before recognized in modern genetics. The ghost lineage found at Skumaka has become the key to deciphering ancient migrations, deep genetic diversity, and waves of extinction or mixing that had never before been identified. This finding not only raises new questions about Africa's population history, but also clarifies the possibility that many other ghost lineages still exist within the human genome. These are ancient branches that once played crucial roles in our evolution, only to disappear without leaving clear descendants. It is a powerful example of just how complex the making of humanity really was, and a driving force that pushes modern science to keep searching the hidden layers of our genetic past. Did the Egyptians treat cancer? The discovery of a nearly 400-year-old human skull has opened a new chapter in the history of ancient Egyptian medicine. When scientists at Cambridge University re-examined their collection of ancient human bones, they came across a middle-aged man's skull with a strange set of marks around a large lesion. These cut marks formed a distinct circle around what is believed to have been a malignant tumor, and scattered across the skull surface were more than 30 smaller lesion signs of metastatic cancer. What truly caught the researchers' attention was that the sharp incisions could not have resulted from natural forces. They were almost certainly made with a specialized sharp tool. Under the microscope, the pattern of the cuts resembled the work of ancient surgical instruments such as copper knives or scalpels. This discovery presented two significant theories for archaeology and ancient medicine. First, it could be direct evidence of an attempt to remove a tumor while the patient was still alive, a sign of medical understanding far ahead of its time. Second, the marks may have resulted from an autopsy aimed at studying the cause of death, proof of a spirit of inquiry, careful observation, and systematic record-keeping in ancient Egyptian medicine. Finding traces of surgery on a metastatic tumor not only shows that the Egyptians could recognize cancer very early, but also demonstrates their willingness to experiment in medicine. Surviving papyrus manuscripts describe conditions related to tumors, further supporting the theory that ancient Egyptian society had laid the foundations for empirical medicine. This included both an awareness of malignancies and the effort to treat them, even if results fell short of modern standards. From this perspective, the discovery of a 400-year-old skull bearing surgical marks stands as priceless proof of the remarkable advancement of ancient Egyptian medicine. A civilization where people never stop seeking ways to confront the disease that remains one of humanity's greatest challenges to this very day. The legend of the Egyptian battery. Throughout the ongoing exploration of humanity's greatest ancient structures, the Giza Pyramid has always stood at the center of the world's most persistent unanswered questions. Recent research shows that collaboration between Russian and German scientists has opened up an entirely new line of inquiry after they detected unmistakable electromagnetic signals emanating from the very base of the pyramid. Modern measurements reveal that this energy isn't just concentrated in the inner chambers. It spreads all the way down to the foundation, creating a rare phenomenon known in physics as a resonance cavity. With this property, the pyramid is no longer just a massive stone built for purposes. Its unique geometric structure actually allows it to focus and amplify electromagnetic waves at specific frequencies, almost as if it were a device designed to receive and direct energy. At several Maya sites in Central America, researchers have recorded similar phenomena beneath their stone pyramids, raising the provocative question: did ancient civilizations possess a sophisticated understanding of quantum physics, or the ability to manipulate energy in ways we can barely imagine? Even so, the theories suggesting that pyramids are ancient machines remain firmly in the realm of mystery. Modern science has yet to offer a conclusive answer. The electromagnetic resonances detected aren't just the random result of stacked stones. They might point to an intentional technical design far surpassing the ordinary engineering of ancient times. The real question is, did the Egyptians truly create some kind of energy storage or transmission device? Or are we simply witnessing the natural physical properties of the materials and their geometric arrangement? The deeper scientists probe, the more it becomes clear that all the data leads back into history's blind spots, where the boundary between legend and reality continues to challenge even the most advanced modern minds. The Sword of Ramses II. When archaeologists began excavating in northwest Egypt amid the ruins of an ancient military road, they uncovered a vast military base, a frontline stronghold that once played a critical role in defending Egypt's ancient borders. Here, in one of the few surviving storage rooms, a remarkable artifact immediately drew attention above all else. A precious metal sword inscribed with the name of Ramses II, the most celebrated pharaoh in Egyptian history. Based on the surrounding soil layers and related artifacts, experts determined that this base was built right around the reign of Ramses II, a time when conflicts with Western tribes, especially the Libyans, were reaching their most intense phase. The strategic placement of the fortress reveals just how crucial it was to Egypt's border defenses. This was not only a rallying point for troops, but also the launch site for campaigns aimed at controlling vital roads leading into the Nile hardland. Analysis of the camp structure reveals high coordination among military units, food stores, weapon workshops, and living quarters for the soldiers, a testament to the impressive logistical organization achieved under Ramses II. Finding a sword bearing Ramses II's name at this site has expanded our understanding of the pharaoh's personal presence on the front lines, not only as Egypt's supreme leader, but also as a hands-on military commander. During his reign, Egypt waged major campaigns on many fronts from Canaan to Nubia. Yet, efforts to secure the western desert were the last line of defense against constant Libyan invasions. Ancient records state that Ramses II personally organized at least 15 military campaigns and spearheaded reforms in frontier strategy, building a network of outposts all along the western border. This sword is not only physical proof of Ramses II's military might, but it also stands as a symbol of an era when national security depended on the personal presence and decisiveness of the pharaoh himself. His appearance at forward camp served both a strategic function and a morale boost for his troops, while sending a clear message to any would-be invader that Egypt's borders were under the direct protection of the king and his elite army. The jar burials of Corsica. The jar burials discovered on the island of Corsica open a shadowy chapter in the island's history, revealing the lives of ancient communities at the end of the Roman Empire. during excavations beneath the Church of the Immaculate Conception in northern Corsica. Researchers unearthed an old cemetery containing more than 40 jar burials, giant pottery vessels originally used to store olive oil or wine, but now repurposed to hold human remains. Initial analysis indicates that these jars originated from North Africa, particularly the region around Carthage, hinting at either extensive trade networks or the presence of foreign migrants within Corsica's ancient population. However, no ancient texts mention any city or settlement that matches the cemetery's location, making it all the more difficult to identify who these people truly were. The burial practice itself, placing bodies inside large jars and arranging them in a certain order, points to Arari ritual, very different from those seen elsewhere in continental Europe at the same time. Some researchers believe this method reflects Mediterranean cultural influences, or perhaps ties to merchants or migrants who arrived in Corsica during the turbulence of late Roman times. The absence of grave goods and cultural markers has made it even harder to pinpoint the origins of these communities. With so little information from written records or local traditions, researchers must now rely heavily on physical evidence, genetic analysis, and isotopic studies to hunt for clues about these mysterious people. These sites are now considered one of the Mediterranean's most intriguing archaeological puzzles. They broaden our understanding of ancient migration, customs, and the diversity of communities in early Corsica, while also reflecting the complex social forces at play on the trade route islands of the Roman world as it entered its twilight. The true secret of Halloween and its Celtic origins. The Halloween rituals now celebrated throughout America and much of the Western world actually trace back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. Samhain marked the end of the harvest and the beginning of the new year according to the Celtic calendar, usually observed on the last night of October. Ancient peoples believed that during this time the barrier between the living and the spirit world was at its thinnest. So religious rituals and celebrations were held to drive away evil spirits and pray for a favorable winter. What few realize is that the Celtic community once spread far beyond the British Isles and Ireland, extending across much of Europe, including what is now Central Europe and Hungary, even in the heart of modern Budapest. Archaeological evidence confirms that the Celts had established settlements and developed their unique rituals long before the Christian era. Traditions like Samhain radiated across the continent, leaving an imprint on many local cultures. As the Roman Empire expanded and absorbed Celtic lands, cultural blending gradually transformed these rituals. By the Middle Ages, many old customs faded or were absorbed into Christian festivals. Yet in Britain and Ireland, the relative isolation allowed ancient Celtic culture to survive longer. This is why Samhain continued, gradually morphing into All Hallows' Eve, the direct ancestor of our modern Halloween. From the 19th century onward, waves of Irish immigrants brought many native customs to America, including Halloween. In the United States, under the influence of a diverse society and the power of mass media, Halloween became a holiday filled with its own unique symbols, pumpkins, costumes, and community celebrations. Yet, its deeper meaning is more than just a night of fun. It is also an opportunity to remember our roots, linking generations to the ancient traditions of the Celts, a civilization that once dominated much of old Europe. Today, even though many original details have changed, Halloween remains a moment for researchers to reflect on how an ancient ritual spread and evolved through each new chapter of European and world history. In this way, the festival reveals the lasting connection between local culture, spiritual heritage, and the growth of modern tradition. Infant skulls as burial helmets. In the field of South American archaeology, Discoveries at the Selengo site on Ecuador's Pacific coast have opened an entirely new chapter in the study of pre-Columbian rituals. Archaeologists uncovered the remains of 2 infants, each buried with a strikingly unique helmet made from a human skull. Specifically, the skulls of older children fitted snugly over the heads of the smaller babies. Surrounding these burials were numerous artifacts, including pottery and ritual implements, making it clear that this was an intentional practice, not some random occurrence. Anthropological analysis dates these skull burials to roughly 100 years ago, linked to the Guangala culture that once thrived along Ecuador's coastal plains. Nowhere else in the world has such a custom using a child's skull as a helmet for an infant ever been documented. This points to a remarkably distinctive belief system, possibly honoring the head as a sacred vessel, and may relate to ideas about protecting the soul or transferring strength between generations. Notably, geological research shows that this region experienced a series of intense volcanic eruptions at the time, leading to the theory that these rituals were attempts to appease natural spirits or to respond to catastrophic disasters. It remains unclear whether the infants and the older children whose skulls served as helmets were biologically related. However, archaeological evidence indicates this ritual was carried out intentionally and at least twice in the same burial area. The use of human heads as sari objects highlights the symbolic significance of the head in South American native spirituality, where it was viewed as the center of ancestral power and the dwelling of the soul. This finding expands our understanding of the diversity and depth of ancient burial practices in the Andes region, shedding new light on the role of the human head in pre-Columbian society. It also raises profound questions about the spiritual development, social organization, and ways in which ancient people confronted mortality, disaster, and the relentless forces of nature. The true tallest pyramid. The quest to determine the tallest pyramid in Egypt has reshaped our understanding of ancient monumental architecture. For centuries, the Great Pyramid of Khufu at Giza was considered the ultimate peak, with its base to apex height reaching 455 feet. However, comprehensive surveys of pyramids along the Nile Valley have brought new attention to a little-known contender: the Pyramid of Pharaoh Djedefre at Abu Raus. What sets this monument apart isn't just the size of its base or the sophistication of its construction, but most of all its location. Djedefre chose to build his tomb at top a limestone hill nearly 700 feet above sea level, giving it a natural elevation no other Egyptian pyramid could rival. While time and quarrying have severely damaged the structure, most of the pyramid's body is no longer intact. Archaeological data confirms that Djedefre's pyramid, when measured from ground level to its original summit, actually surpassed Giza's if you calculate from sea level. The decision to build on such a high ridge reflected not only the pharaoh's desire to reach the heavens, but also a keen spatial strategy. Egypt's ancient architects understood how to exploit the landscape to emphasize royal authority. From the Nile Delta, the pyramid at Abu Rash once rose high above the horizon, a symbol of power and the pharaoh's quest for immortality. Although no ancient records explain exactly why Djedefre selected this site, modern analysis suggests that building on high ground protected the pyramid from floods and increased its chance of survival over the centuries. The combination of enduring engineering and clever site selection has ensured that even in ruin, Djedefre's pyramid holds a unique place in Egyptian history, a testament to the vision of its builders, and a source of new questions about ambition and power along the banks of the Nile. The Exodus. The Bible recounts one of humanity's most epic sagas, the Exodus, when the Israelites fled Egypt after 10 devastating plagues struck the Nile Delta. In this legendary tale, disasters such as water turning to blood, Swarms of frogs and insects, plagues, and darkness were all seen as proof of divine intervention and supernatural power. But as modern science peels back the layers of myth, these ancient mysteries are gradually illuminated by natural history and geological change. A leading theory centers on the volcanic eruption of Santorini, hundreds of miles off Egypt's Mediterranean coast. When Santorini exploded in the 17th century B.C., vast clouds of ash and minerals filled the air, creating a volcanic corridor stretching from Greece all the way to the Nile Delta. Volcanic ash, especially rich in cinnabar, would have tinted the river waters a deep red, almost perfectly matching the biblical description of the Nile turned to blood. This was only the beginning. The toxic water drove amphibians such as frogs to flee en masse, creating the so-called rain of frogs chronicled in myth. With the water so badly polluted, fish and other animals died in huge numbers along the river banks, their decaying bodies providing the perfect breeding ground for insects like mosquitoes, flies, and locusts. Each link in the ecological chain triggered another disaster, and cropping insects helped spread disease on a terrifying scale. Meanwhile, thick ash in the atmosphere blocked out sunlight, plunging Egypt into darkness for days. A phenomenon not just recorded in legend, but also supported by modern meteorological models of what happens after massive volcanic eruptions. Researchers have even found ancient Egyptian medical records describing outbreaks of strange diseases and the deaths of aristocratic children, which might hint at ritual sacrifices or famine caused by environmental devastation. Looking back over the whole sequence of events, the Santorini hypothesis offers a scientifically persuasive explanation for the disasters of Exodus, a moment where legend and history merge, and where the overwhelming power of nature collided with humanity's struggle for survival, creating a cultural legacy that endures to this day. The First Intermediate Period and Famine. The death of Pharaoh Pepi II did not simply mark the end of Egypt's last great Old Kingdom dynasty. It ushered in an age of crisis known as the First Intermediate Period. As Memphis lost its grip on power, control of the nation fractured. Authorities splintered across the land, and the priests who had once presided over the Grand Royaler complexes at Giza emerged as new independent powers wielding religious, economic, and political influence. Those who built the pyramids and managed royal burials became local dynasties, carving out spheres of control along the Nile. This fragmentation quickly plunged Egypt into chaos. Without a strong center, provincial governors and local aristocrats became petty kings, ruling their cities like tiny independent states. The country was riven by internal conflict and rivalry. Any sense of national unity seemed to vanish. In this fractured society, the common people, especially farmers, became ever more vulnerable to environmental disasters. It was at this moment of political breakdown that Egypt was struck by a catastrophe. The annual Nile floods, lifeblood of the land, suddenly and dramatically declined. Rainfall from the Ethiopian highlands no longer fed the river as before, and the water levels dropped. Year after year, drought spread, crops failed, and a catastrophic famine swept the country, the so-called Great Famine. This disaster triggered death and mass migration, but also fueled violent uprisings and conflict between regions. As the rich hoarded food, the majority of people descended into misery. Ancient texts describe years when law and order collapsed as city-states fought over the last arid scraps of land. In the long shadow of the First Intermediate Period, Egyptian civilization faced its greatest challenge yet. Only when power was re-centralized in the Middle Kingdom did the wounds of this dark age begin to heal, opening a new chapter in Egypt's remarkable history. The true origins of the Hyksos. For centuries, the true origins of the Hyksos, rulers of Egypt during the transition between the Middle and New Kingdoms, have sparked heated debate. Most ancient sources and modern scholars long argued that the Hyksos were an invading army from abroad, imposing their will on native Egyptians through force. This view comes mainly from the writings of the historian Manetho and legends about shepherd kings from distant lands. Yet chemical and isotopic analyses of teeth from burials at Avaris, the Hyksos capital, now offer a very different story. Using strontium and oxygen isotopes in tooth enamel, archaeologists have traced the childhood diets and water sources of these individuals, effectively mapping their geographical origins. The results show that most of the male Hyksos elites had lived in the Nile Delta for much of their lives. Many were even born and raised in Egypt itself. Interestingly, many of the women show distinct genetic and chemical signatures, revealing a high degree of diversity and cultural exchange. These findings overturn the old theory of the Hyksos as simple foreign conquerors. Instead, the evidence points to a long-term process of migration from the Near East into Egypt, unfolding over generations. The Hyksos community developed from repeated waves of immigration, gradually integrating with the local population and forming a new social class with both foreign and Egyptian features. This blending is visible in their funeral rituals and weaponry, which combine Eastern innovations with ancient Egyptian traditions. This interdisciplinary approach, combining archaeology, anthropology, and modern genetics, has confirmed that immigration, cultural exchange, and adaptation was central to Hyksos' power, not just military conquest. The resulting hybrid society shaped a unique period in Egypt's history, opening new paths of research into social transformation and migration in the ancient world. The cave on the moon. The discovery of a deep cave beneath the moon's surface has opened up a new frontier for space research and the dream of exploring worlds beyond Earth. In July 2024, Italian scientists from the University of Trento used ground-penetrating radar to survey the Mare Tranquillitatis region not far from the Apollo 11 landing site. Their results revealed that beneath the layers of lunar dust and basalt lies a hollow chamber shaped like a cave, estimated to plunge more than 100 meters deep, with its entrance tucked among natural slopes in the landscape. The structure identifies it as an ancient lava tube formed billions of years ago, when molten rock flowed through the moon's crust, the outer shell cooling and solidifying, leaving behind a long empty corridor stretching far below the lunar surface. This discovery is more than just a technological achievement. It lays the groundwork for future plans to build lunar bases. One of humanity's greatest challenges in setting foot on the moon is the harsh environment, temperature swings of hundreds of degrees between day and night, an atmosphere nearly absent, and radiation levels far beyond what's safe on Earth. That's why lava tubes like the newly discovered cave offer a natural shield from radiation, help stabilize temperatures, and minimize the threat from micrometeorites or cosmic dust. In other words, deep caves beneath the moon could become strategic sites for shelter, equipment storage, long-term research, and the gradual establishment of a sustainable human presence beyond Earth. From a geological perspective, direct access to the moon's underground will allow scientists to analyze ancient sediments and rocks, tracing the origins and evolution of Earth's only natural satellite. The inner layers of the cave preserve pristine records largely untouched by surface conditions, making them invaluable for decoding the history of lunar volcanism, tectonic shifts, and climate change in the Moon-Earth system. The data collected will not only improve lunar mapping, but will also help compare these structures with volcanic caves on Earth, leading to new insights about the similarities and differences in planetary geology. The vision of a scientific base nestled inside a lunar cave where astronauts are shielded from the harshest conditions while conducting experiments, extracting resources, or observing the cosmos now comes closer to reality thanks to modern radar technology and fresh awareness of natural structures beyond Earth. This breakthrough is not only a leap forward in space science, it sets the stage for humanity's ongoing quest to explore, settle, and ultimately conquer the solar system. The Pizarric Carpet, the oldest rug in the world. In 1949, while excavating a frozen burial mound on the Alai Plateau in Siberia, archaeologists uncovered a remarkable textile, the Pizarric Carpet. This is the oldest known handwoven woolen rug in existence, dating back some 500 years to the Iron Age. Preserved perfectly by millennia of permafrost, the carpet measures about 1.8 by 2.8 x 2m and features an astonishing 3,600 knots per square meter, proof of the exceptional skill of its ancient weavers. The rug's design is a series of geometric bands, scenes of cavalry processions, warriors, and stylized plant or animal motifs, all arranged in stunning symmetrical detail. One striking feature is the depiction of riders and horses lavishly adorned, reminiscent of the great nomadic cultures that once dominated the Eurasian steppe. The greatest mystery surrounding the Pizarric Carpet is the question of its true origin. Many researchers once attributed it to the Scythians, a famous confederation of Eurasian nomads celebrated for their textile arts, horsemanship, and metalwork. However, some experts now suggest the rug may have been imported from ancient Persia, since both its weaving technique and southern decorative motifs show strong similarities to Persian craftsmanship. Whether the Pizarric Carpet was a native product of the Siberian steppe or a far-flung trade good, it raises fascinating questions about networks of exchange, technology transfer, and the cross-continental influence of cultures in the first millennium B.C. This artifact is not only a testament to the technical and artistic heights reached by ancient societies, but also a reflection of the complexity and diversity of cultural contacts across the vast expanse of Central Asia. Oulus, Greece. Oulus was once a vital city in the trading network of the ancient Mediterranean, located on the northern coast of Crete at the edge of the Iron Sea. It lay at the crossroads of the flourishing Minoan and Dorian civilizations. At its height, Oulus developed into a major port with an intricate network of roads, fortifications, and strongholds, evidence of which still survives in the archaeological record. Recent underwater surveys have documented remains of city foundations, streets, and defensive structures, as well as valuable finds such as coins, inscriptions, and fragments of marble statuary. Archaeological evidence shows that Oulus maintained close ties with other major cities in the region, especially Kos and the island of Rhodes. The fate of, however, changed abruptly when the city was lost beneath the sea, and to this day, the cause remains a mystery. Some suggest the city was submerged as sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age, inundating coastal settlements. Others point to earthquakes or volcanic activity, since the region is near the fault lines of Santorini, which has a history of severe seismic events. The buried strata and mud layers that cover the ruins support the theory that large-scale natural events were at play. The submergence of Oulu is significant not only for ancient Greek history, but as a window into changing Mediterranean coastlines over the centuries. The underwater ruins provide an invaluable source of information for reconstructing urban life, commerce, and the adaptability of ancient communities in the face of unpredictable environmental change. Ongoing study of Olus is helping to redefine the field of underwater archaeology and reminds us of the enduring impact of nature on the fate of coastal civilizations. Animal mummies. The discovery of animal mummies, especially baboons at ancient Egyptian sites, has opened new frontiers in research on trade, religion, and regional connectivity in antiquity. For thousands of years, Egyptians imported and domesticated baboons for rituals and temple ceremonies as symbols of power and devotion. Yet the true geographic origin of these animals, and the location of Punt, a land frequently mentioned in Egyptian texts as a vital trading partner, remained one of Egyptology's great mysteries. Breakthroughs came through chemical isotope analysis of the bones and hair of mummified baboons recovered from tombs spanning many periods. Scientists compared strontium, oxygen, and carbon isotope ratios in ancient specimens to data from modern baboon populations across Africa. The results showed that some baboons from the New Kingdom period did not bear the isotope signatures of Egypt, but matched those from present-day Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Somalia. This finding strongly suggests that Punt was real and once existed along the southern coast of the Red Sea, precisely as ancient records of Egyptian expeditions and commerce had described. Isotopic science not only helped identify the source of Egypt's baboons, but also provided indirect proof of a seaborne trade network that linked Egypt to the Horn of Africa for over 1,000 years. Furthermore, the artifacts associated with baboons give us a window into ancient biodiversity and the role of exotic animals in Egyptian religion and mummification, helping to complete the picture of the civilization's economy, society, and beliefs. Thus, the study of animal mummies and the application of isotope analysis have expanded our knowledge not only of Egyptian trade routes but of the geography, biology, and technology of the ancient world. This line of research has finally solved one of Egyptology's oldest riddles, pinpointing Punt's location on the map of antiquity. The Sakkar's micro-gold mastery. The gold treasures of the Sakka, a branch of the nomadic Scythian peoples, once spread across the vast steppes of Central Asia, stand out not only for their sheer quantity, but above all for their astonishing microscale gold technology, a level of craftsmanship rarely matched in early medieval history. Archaeological digs at major burial sites like Isaac and Kyrens in Siberia have uncovered thousands of pieces, jewelry, household objects, and even saddle decorations, many measuring just a few millimeters across. These artifacts were created using micro-welding techniques combined with forging, gemstone inlay, and the iconic animal forms of nomadic steppe art. Material and structural analysis reveals that the Sakkar used high-purity gold alloys, skillfully blending elements to enhance both strength and visual appeal. They mastered micro-soldering to join tiny gold fragments into intricate three-dimensional shapes, often adding minute granules of gold to create raised borders and decorative details that rival the finest goldsmithing of large settled civilizations of the time. Beyond adornment, the treasure hoards also include weapon fittings, armor details, and ceremonial objects gilded or highlighted with thin sheets of gold. These objects are clear evidence of a deep intertwining of art, belief, and the symbolism of power. Study of the forms and animal motifs, real and mythical, on these treasures, reveals close links to major cultural centers like Persia, India, and China, reflecting the Sakka's role as cultural intermediaries along the great transcontinental trade routes. Perhaps most remarkable, many Sakka gold burial sites have been found intact, untouched by looting, allowing archaeologists to reconstruct the social structure, rights, and wealth accumulation of the nomadic aristocracy with unprecedented accuracy. These hoards reflect a process of independent creative technological development and reveal how Saka society managed a power system and distributed wealth based on military achievement, kinship or leadership roles within the community. From archaeology to chemical analysis and the study of symbolism, the discoveries of Saka microgold are opening entirely new perspectives on technological history, cross-cultural exchange, and the building of power networks across the Great Eurasian Steppe. The Holy Grail shipwreck. Beneath the waters of the Caribbean, the wreck of the Spanish ship San Jose remains a silent witness to the fierce imperial rivalries of the early 18th century. The San Jose stands out not only for its size, once carrying a crew of hundreds and the capacity for immense cargo, but because its fate is forever linked to one of the largest treasures ever shipped by sea. When it was sunk in 1708, the San Jose was loaded with hundreds of tons of silver, gold, emeralds, and precious artifacts gathered from Spain's South American colonies, a trove now valued in the billions of dollars. The search for the wreck spanned more than 3 centuries, involving generations of divers, archaeologists, and expeditions using the latest technology. Only in recent years have remotely operated submersibles enabled humans to reach and survey the wreck at great depth, where pressure and complex currents had made all earlier attempts impossible. These machines have captured vivid images of cannon encrusted with sea life, barrels of cargo, and a wealth of objects: porcelain, bronze, glass, and ingots of precious metals. The wreck has also become home to rare sea creatures, creating a unique micro-ecosystem deep in the ocean. Recovering intact artifacts from the San Jose is not just a matter of economics. It is a doorway to understanding shipbuilding, maritime logistics, and colonial life in the 18th century. Yet, every recovered relic comes with complex legal battles among nations and organizations, from Spain and Colombia to modern salvage companies. Each side lays claim, citing history, international law, and bilateral agreements. The question of who owns the San Jose's treasure has long outgrown archaeology itself, becoming a global test case in law, heritage, and the contested meaning of discovery. Today, the San Jose secrets are still buried on the ocean floor, fueling ongoing debate about the boundaries between science, ownership, and the stewardship of humanity's shared heritage in the modern world. The oldest house in Cardiff. During an archaeological dig on the outskirts of Cardiff, Wales, researchers uncovered a clay roundhouse dating back 3,000 years, shedding new light on the region's unbroken development from the Bronze Age through the Iron Age and into the Roman era. This roundhouse was more than just a dwelling for ancient residents. It stands as living evidence of local adaptation and resilience through centuries of upheaval. Analysis of sediment layers, building materials, and artifacts from the site reveals a stable community capable of social organization and passing technical knowledge across generations. Pottery shards, stone and earthen tools, and ancient hearths discovered within the roundhouse attest to the sophistication of daily life and material craft in prehistoric times. The location lies close to the fortified hill of Kira, a major Iron Age hill fort that was once the seat of local power. This discovery helps bridge the chronological gap between long-term native settlement and the arrival of Roman influence, a subject that had sparked debate in earlier historical research. Preserved beneath layers of earth. The roundhouse remains from the Bronze Age show that this was once a thriving hub of early farming society. Long before the Romanized stone structures appeared in Cardiff after the 1st century AD, This continuity offers a sweeping view of settlement patterns and cultural transformation, clarifying how indigenous and foreign influences mingled throughout Welsh history. The discovery of a 3,000-year-old roundhouse not only fills in gaps in the historical record, but underscores the importance of archaeology in reconstructing the past. Every layer of earth, every ancient brick is a vital link in the story of survival, from tribal beginnings to an organized society under the enduring shadow of ancient Rome. The giant jawbone discovery. On a May Day along Somerset's coast in southwest England, a chance discovery by 11-year-old Ruby Reynolds and her father set the stage for a new chapter in paleontology. Walking the stony beaches of Blue Anchor, Ruby stumbled upon a massive bone hidden in ancient sediment layers. Initially a child's curiosity, the find quickly drew scientific attention when they realized it was no ordinary rock. Early analysis identified it as part of a lower jaw from a prehistoric marine animal measuring more than 2 m long. Through careful excavation, experts determined it was the fossilized remains of a gigantic ichthyosaur, a creature that ruled the seas at the end of the Triassic period over 200 million years ago. After the bone fragments were reassembled and compared with previous European specimens, this fossil was classified as the ichthyosaur species than Theoloto-archon. Its most striking feature is sheer scale. Based on body proportions, scientists estimate this individual reached over 25 m in length, comparable to a modern blue whale. It was one of the largest marine predators in Earth's ancient history, far surpassing any ichthyosaur previously recorded. CT scans and close analysis of jaw structure and fossilized teeth have revealed much about its predatory lifestyle. Powerful jaws, sharp teeth, and a streamlined body marked it as an apex hunter, able to prey on squid, fish, and even smaller marine reptiles. The true importance of this discovery goes beyond the jaw size. It provides key clues to evolutionary history and ancient environments. Identifying a new ichthyosaur species from such a complete and well-preserved specimen allows scientists to reconstruct the late Triassic marine ecosystem, a time of dramatic climate shifts and mass extinctions. Sediment data associated with the fossil helps determine ancient ocean conditions from temperature and salinity to biodiversity. Connecting this find to wider patterns in Earth's evolutionary story, the jawbone also enriches the global record of marine fossils, forming a vital reference point for comparing ichthyosaur finds elsewhere and mapping the rise and fall of giant sea reptiles. Following Ruby's discovery, the jawbone was taken to the Bristol Museum for preservation and deeper study, quickly becoming the subject of international scientific discussion about Triassic marine life. Ruby's moment on the beach reminds us that even the simplest discoveries can unlock secrets never taught in textbooks, and that anyone can witness the extraordinary in the ongoing search for life's history on our planet. Stone Age human bone jewelry. While excavating ancient graves on an island in Lake Onaga, northern Russia, archaeologists encountered a phenomenon that has challenged our understanding of burial customs and social beliefs in the Stone Age. Among hundreds of graves, many personal ornaments and tools were not just fashioned from animal teeth and bones, but included artifacts meticulously crafted from human bone itself. DNA and isotope analysis confirmed that most of the bone came from individuals who had lived within the same community. These artifacts, bracelets, pendants, bead strings, and carved figurines in animal or human shapes were worked with impressive technique for the post-glacial era. Tool marks show a labor-intensive process, sometimes favoring the bones of individuals with high social status, reflecting a deep symbolic meaning tied to lineage or spiritual belief. The widespread use of human bone jewelry raises questions about prehistoric attitudes toward life. death, and the link between the living and the dead. For these people, keeping a part of a loved one close might have represented respect, remembrance, and the transmission of spiritual power across generations. Beyond the spiritual, reusing bone was likely a pragmatic adaptation to harsh environmental limits on natural materials in the final ice age. This discovery not only enriches our understanding of Stone Age artistry and craftsmanship, but expands our view of cultural identity, belief, and adaptation among ancient peoples of frigid Siberia. Human bone as an ornament or tool is a reminder of the diversity in funeral custom, the complexity of prehistoric values, and the creative ways early humans found meaning in nature, community, and the fragile line between the individual and the collective before the age of writing. Medieval demon sculpture in England. Construction of a new road in Lincolnshire revealed a rare artifact buried deep beneath centuries of soil. A beakhead demon statue fragment dating back to the 12th century. This sculpture represents a distinctive form of religious art popular in medieval Europe. Unlike our modern image of devils, this beakhead merges animal and human traits, featuring a long projecting beak, bulging eyes, sharp teeth, and a fierce, menacing expression. Architectural surveys of local churches from this period show that beakheads were typically installed beside arched church portals next to carvings of plants, animals, or saints. Their function was not merely decorative. They served as warnings, reminders to the faithful about the dangers of evil, the punishment awaiting lost souls, and the boundary between the sacred and the profane. During sermons, priests often pointed to such grotesques as vivid illustrations of hell, sowing fear, but also reinforcing community order. Most surviving medieval demon figures have lost their facial features to time, making this new find exceptionally valuable. Material analysis confirms the statue was carved from local sandstone, using 12th century hand tools, matching the building traditions of large Norman churches. This discovery not only enriches our understanding of religious life and artistic thought in medieval England, but also helps recreate the highly symbolic atmosphere of the era. A world where demons, angels, and saints coexisted, reflecting ancient anxieties and the constant longing for virtue among early Europeans. Though just a fragment of architecture, the beakhead retains its value as a window into religious symbolism, social psychology, and stone carving mastery nearly 1,000 years ago. The mystery tomb of Romulus. The discovery of a hollow stone tomb beneath the ancient Roman Forum has reignited debates about the true origins of Rome. Archaeologists believe this might be the resting place of Romulus, the legendary founder of the city in the 8th century B.C. The tomb lies under the Comitium, Rome's ancient political and religious heart near the Lapis Niger, a sacred black stone altar steeped in local legend. Ancient writers like Livy and Plutarch tell how Romulus and his twin Rhys, descendants of Mars, the god of war, were abandoned and raised by a she-wolf on the banks of the Tiber. Their story, nation-building, fraternal strife, and Remus' death is woven into Rome's mythic foundation. But the historical reality of Romulus has long been disputed for lack of solid archaeological evidence. The newly uncovered tomb contained no bones or grave goods, only a stone coffin about 4.5 m long in a style typical of Rome's earliest days. Signs suggest it was once preserved and protected by a small shrine linking myth, ritual, and early community identity. The nearby Lapis Niger further heightens the symbolism. According to ancient accounts, this was the site where a king was murdered. Many believe Romulus himself, while the tomb's occupant cannot be identified with certainty. The find strengthens the theory that myth and history were deliberately fused in Rome's formation. The empty tomb and black altar speak to the Roman desire to preserve collective memory, legitimize political power, and create a shared national identity. More than an archaeological trace, the site opens a window on the mechanisms by which ancient societies built and sustained their legends, shaping history and civic pride as their civilizations grew. The Catacomb of Demetria Anderary Mysteries. The Catacomb of Demetria at the Saqqara necropolis in Egypt stands as a striking example of deep cultural fusion between ancient Egypt, Greece, and Rome. Discovered during an international dig, this burial place belonged to a woman named Demetria and dates to the era when Egypt was ruled by Rome about 2,000 years ago. What makes this catacomb remarkable is its architecture and decoration, which combine elements from multiple belief systems. Walls depict Demetria in a white dress holding grapes alongside animals and mythological motifs. Beyond the everyday Roman scenes, the catacomb features classic Egyptian symbols. Anubis Seth with outstretched wings evoking ancient notions of death, protection, and the journey to the afterlife. Greek inscriptions record family ties, the names of her parents, and philosophical farewells, highlighting both Demetria's status and the importance of family in ancientary rites. Archaeologists also found cat statues, deities, and various grave goods reflecting Egypt's animal cults and the belief in divine guardianship. Blending architecture, art, and text, the Catacomb of Demetria is a vivid testament to the intense cultural blending in Hellenistic Roman Egypt. This discovery not only sheds light on life, faith, and burial customs, but also helps explain how communal identities evolved in a cosmopolitan Mediterranean world. The mystery of fingerless handprints in Stone Age cave art. Prehistoric cave art sites across Europe feature many stenciled handprints on stone walls, some strikingly missing one or more fingers. This phenomenon is scattered across caves from France and Spain to Central Europe dating from the Paleolithic era. Early theories suggested these might represent visual codes, counting systems, or simply result from folding fingers back during pigment spraying. But recent anthropological and archaeological studies offer more compelling explanations. Ethnographic comparisons and bone evidence show that many societies worldwide practice the ritual removal of finger joints for various social or ceremonial reasons. Expressions of grief after a relative's death, acts of sacrifice for blessing or luck, or even as punishment for community violations. Surveys show this custom was not limited to Europe. It appears in Africa, Asia, Oceania, and the Americas. Thus, the fingerless handprints in prehistoric caves are more than simple art. They are living records of ritual reflecting spiritual life, communal bonds, and ancient beliefs about sacrifice. Reconstructing the exact meaning and rituals behind these traces remains an open field of study, requiring interdisciplinary approaches. Still, it's clear that these images are not just decorative. They carry deep symbolic weight, capturing the spiritual and communal life of our distant ancestors. Roman gold bracelets, ancient swords, and cavalry helmets. Artifacts such as Roman gold bracelets, ancient iron swords, and cavalry helmets are more than stunning evidence of metallurgical skill and craft. They reveal the complex connections between commerce and power in ancient societies. Roman gold bracelets, often found adorned with intricate engravings and imported gemstones, make it clear that such precious materials were sourced from distant lands through trade routes linking the Mediterranean, the Middle East, and Asia. Ancient swords, especially iron blades, mark a turning point in technology from the Bronze to the Iron Age, reshaping military balance and geopolitics across ancient communities. Swords found in graves or battle sites hail from diverse origins, local and foreign, bearing witness to the exchange of metalworking know-how and the central role of weapons in asserting and maintaining power. Cavalry helmets such as Roman cavalry types found from Britain and Germany to Turkey served both as ceremonial regalia and as battlefield protection. Decorations on these helmets, from gold and silver plating to images of gods or animals, reflected social status and the blending of cultures through war, migration, and alliances. These items rarely appear in isolation. They are usually part of larger hoards or grave assemblages, helping to reconstruct the complex trade networks of the ancient world. The circulation of luxury materials, the rise of craft, and the development of power structures were tightly intertwined, fueling economic growth and laying the foundations for early states. Ongoing archaeological discoveries continue to expand our understanding of integration, social hierarchy, and the formation of centers of power. Gold bracelets, swords, and helmets stand as emblems of an age when trade, warfare, and authority were inseparable, allowing scholars to redraw the maps of international and internal relationships among the world's great civilizations. The Curran hypothesis, the Silurian hypothesis, has forced us to reconsider the deep history of Earth and asks a profound question. Did intelligent life ever evolve before humans? The idea starts with the recognition that if an advanced civilization once arose millions of years ago, the relentless forces of geology would likely have wiped out almost all traces of it. Cities, technology, even industrial waste cannot withstand millions of years of erosion, burial, and planetary change. All that might remain would be the faintest chemical signals locked in ancient rock layers or ice cores. With this in mind, scientists have shifted their focus to searching for extraordinary climate signatures. These might include sudden spikes in atmospheric COIs, mysterious chemical compounds preserved in strata, or brief temperature fluctuations recorded in ancient sediments or polar ice. Any dramatic anomaly in Earth's records, if not attributable to natural causes, could hint at artificial activity or advanced technology from a vanished lineage. The Silurian hypothesis isn't just limited to Earth. It also serves as a theoretical framework for searching for signs of alien civilizations on other planets. Rather than looking for ruined structures, scientists are now examining sediment layers, atmospheric changes, or chemical anomalies at the surface. Although no firm evidence for a prehistoric civilization on Earth has been found, the hypothesis has opened new paths for planetary science and emphasized the importance of the geological record in the search for past intelligence. Whether on this world or on others far away. The real apocalypse of the Viking Age. Between the years 539 and 541 AD, a series of global-scale natural disasters shook the climate and society of Europe, especially the far north. Modern scientific research shows that two massive volcanic eruptions in North America sent huge amounts of ash and sulfur dioxide into the atmosphere. These substances quickly spread across the northern hemisphere, drastically reducing sunlight and plunging the land into what became known as a prolonged winter. The infamous eternal winter recorded in history. This climate upheaval brought severe consequences. Average temperatures dropped suddenly, crops failed on a massive scale, and food supplies dwindled, causing death rates to soar. Particularly in the Nordic regions. Tree ring analysis and geological sediment data confirm the unusual conditions of this period, while archaeological evidence shows sharp population decline. The appearance of mass graves and caches of buried metal treasure often hidden by locals, perhaps in response to religious beliefs, or in fear of the impending apocalypse. When compared with the Old Norse sagas, these disasters closely match the legends of Ragnarok, the Viking end of days. According to myth, Ragnarok was a series of catastrophes leading to the deaths of the gods and the end of the world, engulfed in fire and ice before being reborn from the ashes. In Norse epics, Ragnarok represents not only the destruction of the old order, but also the transition to a new world where life begins again with two surviving figures. These images reflect a profound fear of natural cycles of destruction and rebirth tied deeply to the harsh conditions of ancient Scandinavia. Researchers now see the overlap between apocalypse legends and historical catastrophe as more than mere coincidence. From the Fimbul winter, the mythic 3-year-long winter with no summer, to the documented sequence of cold years, both myth and reality depict a time when nature overturned the foundations of society. The ritual burial of treasure, sacrifices to the gods, and a surge in religious activity all show how people struggle to understand and cope with forces far beyond their control. From a scientific perspective, the great climate disaster of the early 6th century affected not just Northern Europe, but left its mark worldwide, shaking human history. Yet for the Vikings, it became the real-life inspiration for one of Europe's most enduring doomsday legends, a powerful reminder of the complex ties between natural experience, collective memory, and the creation of symbols and traditions that have lasted for centuries. If you found these mysterious stories fascinating, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next discoveries. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.